Right then, well, here we go. Here is my first attempt at a revision video. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is the idea of... That's the bin falling over. The first thing we're going to talk about today is the idea of a PPF, or production possibility frontier. Some people call them production possibility boundaries or production possibility curves. What these are intended to do is to illustrate the idea of the central economic problem. And by the central economic problem, what we mean is the problem of scarcity. And by scarcity, what we mean is that any given society has a limited amount of resources. And by resources, we mean factors of production. Things that can be used to make other things. There are four main factors of production, as you'll be aware. These are labour, the amount of workforce an economy has; land, the surface area and resources that an economy has; capital, which can be thought of in many ways, but the easiest way for now is probably to think of it as capital equipment; and enterprise, risk takers. You know, those individuals who are prepared to raise funds and to start a business. The problem is that that these factors of production are fundamentally limited. There's only a certain amount of labour, there's only a certain amount of land, there's only a certain amount of capital and so on, yeah. But when we look at our wants, our desires, yeah, what we like, yeah, when we all add together our Christmas present lists, then these lists are essentially endless. And all we can say is that wants are unlimited. And together, that gives us a problem. And that problem is, how are we going to allocate the scarce resources? How are we going to split up, share out these resources between these competing wants? And this problem gives rise to a central concept in economics. And that central concept is the idea of opportunity cost. And by opportunity cost, what we mean is that we can't use a resource for one thing and also use it for another. It applies to you. Yeah? If you spend time doing revision, then there is an opportunity cost. You could have done something else. Yeah? You could have had the best alternative for going. It could have been watching the television, going out for a film. Yeah, there's lots of things that it could be. The same applies to the economy. If we use land to produce one thing, then we can't use it to produce another. And this is what this is what a production possibility frontier can illustrate. The definition of opportunity cost, as I'm sure you know, is the value of the best alternative foregone. Okay, so if we turn to the idea of a production possibility frontier, they're generally simplified representations of an economy. What we mean by that is that we assume that an economy has perhaps two main products that it makes. Yeah? We could simplify this and say maybe we'll have agriculture down here, and we'll have manufactured goods up here. So let's imagine what we can do with our resources. What we could do is we could say that all our resources are going to be used to produce manufactured goods. We're not going to bother with agriculture at all. We're all going to starve. If we decide to do that, then the economy will be operating at a point such as that. Point A. What point A shows is that we have lots of manufactured goods, but no agricultural goods. Alternatively, we might decide that eating is a good idea. We might put all our resources into growing stuff. Yeah? Into growing, into animal produce, that type of stuff. If we were to do that, then the economy would be down there at point B. We'd be having lots of agricultural goods, but there would be no manufactured goods. And obviously, most economies, or all economies really, are going to choose some point inside, some point within that. Yeah, they're going to want some manufactured goods, and they're going to want some agricultural goods. And as we take resources away from manufactured goods, as we produce fewer manufactured goods, we can have, of course, more agricultural goods. And we end up with a trade-off meaning as one goes up, the other goes down. We'll end up with a trade-off that looks something like that. Now, production possibility frontiers aren't generally drawn as straight lines, and we'll come to that shortly. Yeah? For the minute, let's examine what this curve can represent. What can it show us? Yeah? The first thing it can show us is the concept of employment of resources. Any point, whether we're talking about point X, or point Y, or point Z, all three of those points are showing an economy where all the resources are being used. The resources are fully employed. X, Y, and Z reflect different choices between different societies of the use of those resources, but fundamentally, they're being fully employed. What about a point out here, a point outside the production possibility frontier? A point such as, we'll call it C. Point C can't be reached, at least not at the moment. We don't have enough resources to reach C. So hence, a production possibility frontier can show the concept of limited resources. Alternatively, an economy might be at a point such as D. D lies inside the production possibility frontier and is regarded as an inefficient point. And the reason is that it would be possible to move to point Y. In other words, we can have more agricultural goods, we can have more manufactured goods as well. There's no opportunity cost. So the economy is operating inside its production possibility frontier, and an economy operating at a point such as D is known as Pareto inefficient. And what that means is it's possible to increase output of one good without reducing an output of another. Whereas that's not possible at a point such as Y. At Y, if you want more manufactured goods, you have to have fewer agricultural goods. If you want more agricultural goods, you have to give up manufactured goods. So that shows the basics of what a production possibility frontier illustrates to us. Yeah? It illustrates the concept of scarcity. We have to make choices. We can't get to point C, so therefore we need to choose where we are going to be. Any choice involves an opportunity cost. Next, we'll look at what happens over time. What are the possible other uses that we can make of a production possibility frontier?